My name is Chloe, and I'm 32 years old. I was lying on a hospital trolley waiting for emergency surgery when I made the mistake of calling my mother. I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for comfort. I just asked her to pick up my 2-year-old son because I was being wheeled into theatre. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just sighed and said, "Chloe, don't be selfish. We're getting ready for your sister's party." I stared at the phone, tears running into my ears, and whispered one word before the anaesthetic took over. "Hey, friend, it's late. Have you taken your blood pressure tablets yet? Don't let a racing heart mess with your evening. Go on, pour a glass of red wine and let's get into this story." I lay on the narrow hospital bed, the bright lights of the A&E department stinging my eyes. The pain in my side was sharp and relentless, drowning out the background noise of the ward. A doctor stood over me, looking calm but urgent. "It's your appendix," he said. "It needs to come out. We can take you down to theatre soon. You'll be in for a couple of days." "I need to make a call," I croaked. "My son, I've got to get him from school." A nurse put my phone into my hand. My fingers were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I rang Mum first. I don't know why I still did that after everything, but old habits are hard to kill. You reach for the people who are supposed to be there. She picked up on the 4th ring. "Mum," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I'm in hospital. It's my appendix. They're taking me in for surgery. Can you please pick up Lucas from school? He needs collecting in a couple of hours, and I'll need someone to have him while I recover." There was a pause, the kind that tells you the answer before it arrives. "Oh, Chloe," she said, and there was something weary in her tone, as if I'd rung to ask her to move house. "That's not possible. Your dad and I are on our way out. We're going to Emma's promotion do. There'll be loads of people. We can't just drop everything." My throat tightened, but I pushed on. "Mum, please, he'll be waiting. I can't leave him there." "That's really not our problem," she said, and her voice went cold in a heartbeat. "Lucas is your responsibility. You'll have to sort it." "Sort it how?" I whispered. "I'm about to go into theatre." She sighed as if I was the one being difficult. "He's always so noisy, Chloe, always touching things. We're not set up for that. We're in a rush. He's your grandson. And Emma's finally got some good news," she said, as if that settled it. "We're not missing this." I could feel the sting in my eyes, hot and immediate. "After everything I've done for you," I said, and it came out cracked. "I've been paying your car finance for months. Every time you needed money, I've covered it." She gave a short laugh, not amused, just dismissive. "We won't be needing your little transfers anymore. Emma's salary's going up. She can help us now." Then she ended the call. I lay there with the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the blank screen like I'd been slapped. A nurse touched my arm gently. "Chloe, love, we need to get you ready." I nodded, swallowing hard. My chest hurt more than my stomach did. I rang Jenny. Jenny was my ex-husband's sister. Technically, she still is. Blood doesn't stop being blood just because someone else messed everything up. She's also the person who has shown up for me more times than my own family ever has. She answered straight away. "Chloe?" My voice broke the moment I heard her. "Jenny, I'm in hospital, appendicitis. They're taking me in for surgery. I need someone to collect Lucas from school and have him for a couple of days. I hate asking, but I don't know who else to ask." "Text me the school name and the pickup time," she cut in, already moving. I could hear keys, a door, the quick, purposeful noise of her getting ready. "Don't apologise. Is he at after-school club today or just normal pickup time?" "Normal," I said, breathing out shakily. "He finishes at 3:15. "Right, I'll be there," she said. "Lucas and I will have a little sleepover. Yeah, he can help me make tea. Max will be thrilled." Max was her dog. Lucas adored him, like he was a furry sibling. "Jenny," I whispered, and tears finally spilled over. "Thank you." "Focus on getting better," she said, firm as anything. "I'll ring Mum and Dad as well, so they know you're in hospital. You don't need the stress." I didn't tell her I'd already rung my mum. I couldn't bear to say it out loud yet. The next thing I remember properly is waking up in recovery, thick-headed and dry-mouthed. The first thing I did was reach for my phone. My hand shook as I unlocked it, and then I saw the message. There was a text from Jenny. "Lucas is with me. He was absolutely fine. We made pizza. He's currently building a blanket fort with Max. Don't you worry about a thing. Get some rest." I read it 3 times, and each time my chest loosened a little. Over the next 2 days, Jenny sent photos like little lifelines. Lucas in her kitchen with a tea towel tucked into his waistband, like an apron. Lucas on the living room floor with felt tips spread everywhere, Max's head parked on his lap. Lucas asleep under a duvet in a wonky blanket fort, one small hand curled round the dog's ear. Every photo made me grateful, and every photo made me angry too. Not at Lucas, never at him. At the fact that the people who made me, the people who told me all my life that family mattered most, had turned their backs without blinking. While I lay there in that hospital bed with stitches in my stomach and a drip in my hand, I had too much time to think. I thought about being 5 years old, standing at the bottom of the stairs while Mum and Dad told me I was going to be a big sister. They made it sound like a gift. They said I'd have a best friend, someone to play with, someone to protect. What they didn't mention was that I'd become background noise. In our house there was always a hierarchy, and it was clear. Emma sat at the top like a little queen, and I was somewhere underneath, expected to make myself useful and not take up too much space. Every morning Mum would ask Emma what she fancied. Toast cut just so, eggs the way she liked, little extras arranged on a plate like a cafe. I got whatever was quickest, a bowl of cereal shoved in front of me while Mum cooed over Emma like she was made of glass. When I needed private braces, Dad complained about the cost for months. Mum tutted every time the orthodontist sent a reminder. They made it feel like I'd asked for something ridiculous. 2 years later, Emma needed braces, and suddenly it was, "Oh, we'll sort it." Not even a debate. They paid for the clear ones I'd begged for and been told were too expensive. At school I worked like my life depended on it. My reports were good, not flashy good, just steady, consistent. Mum would glance at them, nod, and ask Emma how rehearsal for the school play was going. Emma got a part with 2 lines, and my parents behaved like she'd been cast on the West End. If Emma scraped a pass, they took her out to celebrate because she tried so hard. If I did well, it was treated like background expectation. Birthdays said it all. Mine were supermarket cake, a few mates in the garden, Mum checking her watch every 10 minutes. Emma's were the whole thing. Themes, decorations, the lot. A hired entertainer once, I overheard Mum telling someone in the kitchen, "Emma appreciates these things more. Chloe's practical, she doesn't need all that fuss." I was practical because no one ever gave me the option of being anything else. And Emma, for a while, was just a kid. We built blanket forts, we made up silly stories. She would curl against me on the sofa and ask me to read to her. Then she learnt what the world was telling her, day after day, that she was special, that she could do no wrong, that if she wanted something, it would be handed to her. By the time she was in secondary school, she was exactly what you'd expect. "Chloe, where's my blue jumper?" she'd shout, barging into my room like it was hers, pulling open drawers, ransacking my wardrobe. "That's mine, Emma," I'd say, trying to keep my voice calm. "Mum bought it for my birthday." "Well, I need it," she'd snap. "It's my friend's party. Mum, Chloe won't let me borrow it." And Mum would appear at my door with that look, the one that always said I was the problem. "Chloe, don't be selfish. Let your sister borrow it." I learnt to pick my battles. I learnt that arguing only got me labelled difficult, dramatic, ungrateful. I learnt to stop expecting fairness and to stop looking for approval from people who didn't want to give it. School became the one place I could breathe. I buried myself in revision. While Emma was being praised for turning up, I was doing well enough to make teachers stop and say, "You've got something, Chloe, don't waste it." When the letter came through about university with a scholarship and bursary that meant I could go without them paying, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would land differently. At dinner, Emma was talking at full volume about her Year 8 student council campaign, as if it was a general election. There was a rare pause while she drank water, and I said, "I got into university, and I've got funding. I won't need you to pay." Mum barely looked up. "That's nice, love." Then she turned back to Emma. "Go on then, what did your posters say?" I didn't cry, I didn't shout, I just felt something go quiet inside me. After that, I only came home when I had to. Christmas. The odd family birthday. Every time it was the same. Emma's life was the headline. Mine was a footnote. At university, I built my own world. I studied hard, got good marks, picked up internships, made friends who didn't treat me like an inconvenience. For the first time, I knew what it felt like to be seen. In my third year, I got a message that changed everything. It was from Ben Carter. Ben had been a year above me at school. Back then, I'd noticed him from a distance, the kind of boy who looked like he'd always know where he was going. He'd never been mine, not even close. He'd been someone I watched in corridors and then forgot about when real life started. His message was simple. "Hey, Chloe, it's Ben. Hope you're well. Bit random, but I saw you come up and thought I'd say hello." We started chatting. First about school, then about work, then about life. He was back in our area, working as an engineer. He was funny in a dry way and kind, and he listened. Actually listened. After graduation, I moved back to London and got a job as a project manager at Turner and Associates. Ben and I met for coffee that first week. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into staying up too late talking on his sofa. Before I knew it, we were flat hunting together. My parents barely noticed. If they asked about me at all, it was with the air of someone ticking a box. Emma, meanwhile, was apparently finding it hard, adjusting to university life. "Not everyone can just breeze through it like you," Mum said once, like it was an accusation. But Ben's family made up for all the gaps. Tom and Sarah, his parents, welcomed me like they'd been waiting for me. They invited us round for Sunday lunch, asked about my work, remembered details. His sister Jenny became the sister I'd always wanted. When Ben and I got married 2 years later, it was small. A registry office, then a little reception in Tom and Sarah's back garden. Simple, warm, real. My parents came. Of course they did. They spent most of the afternoon talking about Emma's internship. Still, for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. When I got pregnant a couple of years after that, I thought it was the final piece. Lucas was born healthy, loud, beautiful. Ben cried when he held him, his face soft with something I'd never seen before. For a while we were happy. Then Lucas turned one and something shifted. Ben started working late. Not the occasional late meeting. Late every night. He stopped suggesting date nights. He stopped looking at me properly. When he did come home, he was distant, like his mind was somewhere else. I told myself it was stress. I told myself all couples go through phases. I told myself anything that would stop the truth from forming. The confession came on a Tuesday. A normal evening. Lucas was in his high chair, flinging peas with the joyful chaos only toddlers possess. Ben walked in and looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I need to tell you something," he said. His voice was unsteady. "I've met someone else. Her name's Rachel. She's a client at work. And I'm in love with her." The room went quiet around me. The clatter of Lucas's spoon, the hum of the fridge, my own breathing, all of it sounded far away. The divorce was quick and, on the surface, calm. Ben moved to Edinburgh with Rachel. He insisted on paying generous child maintenance. "I've been a dreadful husband," he said in the solicitor's office, eyes fixed on the table, "but I won't be a dreadful dad." Lucas was too young to understand why Daddy lived inside a screen now. Too young to understand why my smile got tighter every time Ben called. Ben's family stayed. Tom and Sarah were devoted to Lucas. Jenny became our lifeline. She helped with childcare. She showed up. She made my life doable. My own parents were still my own parents. I tried. I took Lucas to their house now and then, hoping they'd soften for their only grandchild, hoping they'd see him and feel something. Mum would look up from her magazine long enough to say, "Chloe, don't let him touch that." Dad would tut about sticky fingers. Lucas would cling to my leg, eyes wide, as if he could feel the ice in the room. And then Emma would arrive. "There's my star," Dad would say, beaming, as Emma breezed in talking about her job at some finance firm, her colleagues, her office gossip. They'd ignore Lucas's drawings, ignore his little voice, ignore the way he hovered, desperate to be liked. So I stopped going, slowly, quietly. I stopped offering myself up for rejection. Instead, I focused on what I could build, a stable home, a decent routine, a career I could rely on. Jenny and her parents helped with Lucas, and I started taking on bigger projects at work. One of them was for a Singapore-based client, high pressure, complicated, the kind of account everyone avoided. My boss warned me, "It's a bit of a mess, Chloe. No one's managed to get it over the line." "I can," I said, and for once I wasn't trying to convince anyone but myself. I did. 3 months of late nights, calls across time zones, relentless spreadsheets, and the kind of careful confidence you can only build when you've been underestimated your whole life. I not only closed the deal, I expanded it. After that, I became the person they called when something needed saving. The promotion came with a better salary, a better title, and a sense of relief so sharp it nearly made me dizzy. My team took me out for a drink after work and toasted me with cheap Prosecco. "To Chloe Mitchell," someone said, smiling, "the miracle worker." I went home that night and watched Lucas sleep, his cheeks still round with toddler softness, his hand flung above his head like he owned the world. And I thought, I can give him what I never had. I can break this pattern. A few weeks later, with my bonus finally in, I took Lucas flat hunting. The estate agent showed us a place in a leafy pocket of outer London. Not fancy, just good. A small garden out back, 2 bedrooms and a little box room that could be Lucas's own space, a nearby park, a primary school with a good reputation in the catchment. Lucas ran from room to room, shouting, "This can be my room, this is where my dinosaurs go." I stood in the empty kitchen with my phone open, checking the numbers again, feeling my heart thump. "We'll take it," I said, before fear could talk me out of it. That night, in our old flat, I tucked Lucas into bed for one of the last times there. "Mummy," he said, sleepy but excited, "are we really getting a new home where I get my own room?" "You are," I said, smoothing his hair. "Your own room, and an art corner, and space for all your books." He wrapped his arms round my neck carefully, like he knew I was made of something fragile. "You're the best mummy ever." I held him and swallowed hard, not because of what he'd said, because of what it meant. It was amazing how quickly my parents changed once the news filtered through. My phone buzzed with a message from Mum. Mum's text said, "Sweetheart, we haven't seen you and Lucas in ages. Come over this weekend." I stared at it for a long time. This was the same woman who'd barely tolerated my son's presence, who'd treated my visits like chores. But Lucas still asked about them sometimes in that innocent way children do, as if love is automatic. So I went. The difference was almost unsettling. "There's my favourite grandson," Dad boomed when we walked in. Considering Lucas was his only grandson, it wasn't saying much, but Lucas lit up anyway. Mum produced a toy truck like she'd been holding it behind her back for the grand reveal. "Look what I got you," she said brightly. "And I made biscuits. You do like chocolate chip, don't you?" Lucas nodded furiously and climbed onto the carpet with his new truck while Mum sat down beside him. Actually sat down. Actually played. Later, while Lucas was distracted, Mum turned to me with that careful sweetness. "Chloe, love," she said, "we'd like to have him more often. Maybe a weekend here and there. You must need a break." It felt surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. Over the next few months, they leaned into it. They asked for Lucas to stay. I used that time to breathe, to catch up on sleep, to have lunch with Jenny, to remember I was a person beyond being someone's mother. "You seem happier," Jenny said one afternoon while we walked round the shops. "Lighter." "It's nice," I admitted, seeing them make an effort. Jenny raised an eyebrow because she knew my parents as well as I did by now. I didn't say the other part out loud, that I could guess why they were trying, that love in my family had always come with a price tag. The requests started small. Mum mentioned their boiler making a noise. Dad casually dropped in that they needed to sort the plumbing. Little things, the kind of things you can cover without it hurting. "I'll help," I said, each time remembering all the things they'd bought Emma without blinking. Dance classes, summer camps, little treats, the ease with which they'd opened their wallet for her and clenched it for me. It felt strange being the one they came to now. Strange and in a twisted way, satisfying. Then I started hearing about Emma through the family grapevine. Her job wasn't going as planned. She'd been passed over for promotions. She was undervalued. It was office politics. Mum defended her every time. "They don't recognise talent," she said, sighing dramatically over Sunday lunch, as if Emma was a tragic heroine. The requests grew bigger. A new fridge, repairs to the roof, and then the biggest one. One Sunday, while Lucas was asleep upstairs in the little spare room they'd set up, Dad cleared his throat. "Chloe," he said, not looking me in the eye, "your mum and I have been thinking about getting a new car. The monthly payments would be a bit steep, but with your new position—" "How much?" I asked. They told me a figure that would have made me choke a year earlier. Now it was doable. Still significant, but doable. "We'll pay you back," Mum said quickly. We both knew they wouldn't. I agreed anyway. Maybe I was buying validation. Maybe I was trying to prove something to myself. Maybe I wanted Lucas to have grandparents, even if I had to fund the relationship. I set up a standing order from my banking application. Every month, money left my account and slid into theirs. Jenny warned me over coffee the next day. "Just be careful," she said. "Money makes people weird." I nodded. "It'll be fine." I thought, how complicated could it get? Then came the Tuesday at work when I ended up in hospital. And on that hospital bed, hearing Mum's voice turn cold as she told me Lucas was my problem, something in me finally snapped into place. When I was discharged, Jenny drove me home. Lucas ran to me the moment he saw me, then stopped short, remembering I was ouchy. "Auntie Jenny let me help make breakfast every morning," he announced proudly, "and Max slept in my blanket fort." I looked at Jenny and felt a wave of gratitude so strong it nearly knocked me over. Later, Jenny told me she had rung my parents like she promised. She said Mum had sounded irritated, and Dad had said they were busy. That was it. That night, once Lucas was asleep and the flat was quiet, I opened my banking application. I cancelled the standing order to my parents. Then I went through my social media and blocked them. All of it. Facebook, Instagram, everything. I stared at a framed photo on my desk, taken in the park a few weeks earlier. Lucas and me laughing, Jenny's dog mid-leap in the background as if he'd been launched into the sky. And I felt something shift. All these years, I'd been trying to buy love from people who treated it like a favour. But real family didn't do that. Real family collected your child when you were being wheeled into theatre. Real family built blanket forts. 3 months passed. Life settled into something calmer. Jenny and her parents were the constant thread through our weekends. Sunday lunches, park visits, little movie nights with Lucas curled between me and Jenny on the sofa, Max snoring at our feet. And then, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Mum's name flashed on the screen. I stared at it, thumb hovering, and for a second I considered letting it go. But something in me wanted to hear what she'd say. Wanted proof that I'd done the right thing. I answered. "Chloe," Mum said, voice syrupy sweet. "How are you, sweetheart?" "What do you want, Mum?" A pause, then a sigh that sounded rehearsed. "Well," she began, "your dad and I are in a bit of a situation with the car payments." My stomach stayed calm. That alone told me how far I'd come. "Oh?" I said. "Yes," she said, pushing on quickly. "We assumed Emma would help, with her new salary and all, but when we asked her—" Mum lowered her voice like she was sharing a scandal. "She refused, said she's got her own expenses. Can you imagine, after everything we've done for her?" The irony was almost laughable. "We were hoping," Mum continued, and her tone turned smaller, "that you could start helping again, just until we figure something else out." Something bubbled up in my chest, half laugh, half disbelief. I let out a short, sharp chuckle before I could stop myself. "Chloe, this isn't funny," Mum snapped. "We could lose the car." "You know what's funny?" I said, and my voice was steady now, steady in a way it had never been with her before. 3 months ago I was being wheeled into surgery. I rang you because I needed help, and you called Lucas a burden. You couldn't pick him up because you were too busy celebrating Emma. "That was different," she protested. "We were busy. You know how these things are." "No," I said quietly. "I know exactly what it was. I was useful when I was paying your bills. The moment you thought Emma could replace me, Lucas and I became inconvenient again." "That's not fair," she said, voice rising. "We've always—" "Always what?" I cut in. "Always put Emma first? Always treat me like I was second best? Always take what you wanted and expect me to be grateful?" "Chloe, please," she said, and for the first time I heard the edge of panic. "You called it handouts," I reminded her, "right before you ended the call on me in hospital. Well, the handouts are over. I'm done trying to buy your love, and I'm done watching you treat my son like he's less than Emma's shoes." "But the car," Mum said, voice cracking. Chloe, please? I exhaled, and it felt like letting go of something I'd been carrying for years. Not my problem, I said. Goodbye, Mum. I ended the call and blocked her number. Then I blocked Dad's. The messages came anyway, from unknown numbers, from emails, from everything they could find. One message said, Chloe, please, we're your parents. Another said, this is so selfish. Another said, you'll ruin us. Not one of them mentioned Lucas. Not one said, I'm sorry we left you alone. Not one asked if I was well. It was all about them, their panic, their car, their entitlement. After a week, I set up filters so their emails went straight into the bin and stopped looking. One Sunday, I sat in Tom and Sarah's garden while Lucas and Max tore round the grass like they were powered by pure joy. Tom was at the barbecue. Sarah was laying plates out on the patio table, calling out gentle reminders like, don't trip over the dog, darling, and laughing when Lucas ignored her. Jenny handed me a glass of lemonade and sat beside me. You all right? She asked. I watched Lucas throw a little frisbee badly, then laugh even harder when Tom dropped the tongs and ran over to show him how to do it properly. You know what? I said, and my voice surprised me with how calm it sounded. I really am. I thought I'd feel guilty. I thought I'd be devastated, but mostly I just feel free. Jenny nodded and squeezed my hand once. You gave them more chances than they deserved. Lucas came sprinting over, face flushed. Mummy, look! Grandad Tom taught me how to throw it so Max can catch it. Tom came behind him, grinning, and ruffled Lucas's hair gently, carefully and affectionately. And that was it, really. That was the whole point. Family isn't who shares your surname. It's who shows up. It's who collects your child when you're scared and in pain. It's who makes a place for you without asking what you can pay for it. A week after the calls finally stopped, Lucas came home from school with a project sheet in his book bag. We're doing family trees, he announced, hopping onto the kitchen chair like it was a stage. He'd drawn me in the middle, big and smiling. Next to me he'd drawn Tom and Sarah. Jenny was there too, and Max with a ridiculous wagging tail. Ben was on a smaller branch off to one side because we still did video calls and the occasional visit. And Lucas knew his dad loved him even if he didn't live with us. But Mum and Dad weren't on the page at all. Lucas held it up, slightly uncertain. Is this okay, Mummy? Miss said family trees usually have more people, but these are the ones we need. I stared at his careful little drawings, the names spelled in wobbly letters, the way he'd placed people close together if they felt safe. I got up and stuck it on the fridge with a magnet, right next to a photo from his last birthday. The three of us, plus Tom and Sarah, all crammed round a cake. Real smiles, no performance. It's perfect, I told him. Absolutely perfect. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family that keeps you. Sometimes you have to stop begging people to love you properly. And sometimes when you finally let go, you make room for the people who've been quietly loving you all along.